Hello everyone! In this video we will show the features and the configuration of an Odoo Module Cloud Storage Solutions, which was created by faOtools. Cloud Storage Solutions is an Odoo app to organize attachments, manage folders trees, and synchronize Odoo with the cloud storage solutions of your choice. The app introduces automatic algorithms to prepare directories for documents and integrate those with workflows of Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, Nextcloud, ownCloud, and Dropbox. A separate add-on for each client is required. You will be able to decide which Odoo document types should have their own folders trees, flexibly create folder rules. Any Odoo module can be chosen. Manage folders and attachments from a single view. Conveniently navigate through them. Search and download files one by one or in a batch. Organize files of any Odoo object in a set of subfolders. Instantly access folders and files in the attachment box and in synced cloud interfaces. Rely on auto-synchronization between Odoo and Cloud solutions based on the scheduled jobs. No manual interaction is required. Control sync logs right in Odoo. Export and share those in case of any issues. Be notified of any client disconnections, and optionally sync documents from the Enterprise Odoo Documents with the help of the Odoo Cloud Sync for Enterprise Documents. The module has a convenient menu, from where you can see and manage the folder structure. For that, the single view interface was introduced. A folder is a key object in cloud storage solutions, which represents a virtual location for the attachments and other subfolders. With the help of folders, you can conveniently navigate through files, create easily reachable structures, restrict writes for a particular folder, create personal storage, and even sync some or all of the folders to one or several cloud clients. There are two types of folders: automatic folders and manual folders. Automatic folders are based on folder rules and linked to Odoo objects. Folder rules allow creating a particular structure of folders, which is preserved while syncing with a cloud client. After creating a rule, no further actions are required. However, you can always change the rule. In this case, the folders will be recalculated. We will talk about automatic folders a little bit later. Not only you can create a rule which generates folders, but also you can create a folder or a subfolder manually. Manual folders and subfolders can be added from the Files Manager interface, Objects Attachments box, and may even be synced from the cloud. Manually created folders are particularly useful when you need a particular folder which cannot be extracted from Odoo. They can serve as a personal storage. All folders may contain attachments. You can see and manage folders in the left navigation menu. From there, you will be able to search for a particular folder, open a linked object of a folder if any, see the configuration of a folder, create a new manual folder or subfolder, edit it, and change the order of manual folders by drag and drop. If you have a lot of folders, then there might be a necessity to use search to easily find the one you need. For that, use the navigation input search folder on the left side of the single view interface. As you right-click on an automatically created folder, you see the following actions. Download as archive. Only the attachments of this particular folder will be downloaded. If you want to download the attachments from various folders, just select them and use the mass action download. The selection is not reset when you apply filters or move between folders. The next action is Create Subfolder. If you click on it, then the child folder will appear on the folders tree. Subfolder cannot be a parent folder of an automatic folder. The next one is Open Linked Object. Automatically generated folders are generated based on Odoo objects. Thus, it's possible to open a linked object of a folder. It will appear in the pop-up window. And the last one is Settings. Here you can see the settings of the automatic folder, but you can't edit them. From the single view interface, you can also create and manage manual folders. To add a root folder manually, click on the button Create New Folder below the folders list, then write its title. Also, you can create a subfolder by right-clicking on any folder and choosing the option Create Subfolder. It is possible to change the hierarchy of manual folders by drag and drop. However, it isn't possible to assign a manual folder as a parent one to the automatic folder. As you click on a manually created folder, you see the following actions: download as archive, create subfolder, rename, edit settings, and here you can change properties of the manual folder including name, parent folder. Here you can also assign cloud client and limit access to user groups and add some notes. And the last action is archive. It allows removing a folder from the folders tree, but it's still possible to restore it later. In the central part of the interface, you see the attachments of the currently open folder. Only the attachments of one level are seen. For example, if you click on the parent folder as your interior, you will see only files of this folder and not of all child folders that it includes. You can upload the attachments from the single view interface by clicking on the button Upload File. The files are uploaded to the currently selected folder. To open the Attachments Details card, click on the thumbnail. There you will be able to see and manage the information about the file. For example, change its name. Select multiple attachments by clicking on the square in the top right corner of it. Click the Select All Found button to choose all attachments found by the filters. To deselect one or several attachments, click on their titles in the third functional interface, or on the square in the top right corner of an attachment. To remove the selection, click on the button Reset in the right functional panel by the line Selected Attachments. The selection will not be reset as you switch between folders, filters, use the search bar, or apply mass actions. You can use the search bar to find a particular attachment or folder. You can search by name, folder, the author, created by, and MIME type. Just start typing the word, choose one of the options, and click Search. The search takes place in the currently selected folder, but you can switch to another folder by clicking on it, and previously chosen search criteria will not be removed. To reset the search, click on the cross by the searching option. As you select an attachment, the right functional panel appears. In the right functional panel, you will find the list of mass actions which allow performing an action to all selected attachments at once. The available mass actions are download, update, allows moving the attachment to another folder, and delete. And now, let's see how to create and manage automatic folders. For that, let's open the Folder Rules menu. Here you see a list of folder rules. From the columns on the right side, you can find out the information about them without opening. Here you can see folder name, cloud client if any, for example, Google Drive or OneDrive. Rule type, if the Odoo Cloud Sync for Enterprise Documents is installed. Parent rule if any. You can change the order of the folders by changing the order of the folder rules. Open the Folder Rules menu and drag and drop to change the rules sequence. The lower is the sequence, the higher the related documents folder will be. Keep in mind that the cloud folder rules will not be higher than their parents regardless of their sequence. For example, the folder rule Customers is a parent one for the rule Invoices. Thus, even if we drag and drop the rule Invoices above the rule Customer, it will not be shown higher in the folders tree. From the Folder Rules menu, you can also archive folder rules. For that, open any rule and click on the gear icon. Or select several folder rules by ticking the box on the left side of rules, and select the action by clicking on the gear icon. If you archive the folder rule with the next scheduled job, the related folders will also be archived. Keep in mind that folders are updated regularly. As you create an automatic rule, it appears in the Files Manager only after the scheduled job Prepare Cloud folders. The folder rules are checked and updated every 15 minutes. If there is a really big number of objects, some folders might be created refreshed with one of the next scheduled jobs. It's possible to trigger the scheduled jobs manually by going to the Cloud Storage configuration and by clicking on the button Launch Folder Update at the bottom of the page. However, we highly recommend using the button only for testing purposes. To configure automatic folder rules, a user should belong to the security group Cloud Storage Administration. So let's create a rule. For that, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, Folder Rules. Click Create. If you have the Odoo Cloud Sync for Enterprise Documents, here you need to also choose the rule type. If you want to create automatic folders for Odoo attachments, then you need to choose model-related rule. And workspace-related rule is only for Odoo Enterprise Documents module. Then you can choose the folder's name, but it's better to choose model before that, as the name will be updated right after you choose it. And then you can change the name the way you like. Avoid using the following symbols, because with the next folder refreshing, they will be replaced with this sign. It's done to avoid conflicts with file systems. If there is at least one cloud client connected, for example, OneDrive, SharePoint, then you may assign it to sync the folders with attachments. Or you can leave the field empty if you don't want to sync them. Then choose the model to sync and optionally set a parent rule. So when you need to add objects of one model inside the objects of another one, you can specify the parent rule. The models can be linked by the many-to-one field. For example, if you want to store tasks folders inside of the related projects folders, then on the card of the task there should be a many-to-one field which contains the information about the related project. Optionally, you can limit the folders, which should be synced by applying filters and/or periods. So create folders for only particular objects of a specific model and don't create for others. For example, to have only one opportunities folder to divide sale orders by the salesperson or a particular period of time. For that, click Add a filter and set up the rule. For example, like this. If there are any records that match the filter, you will see their number on the right side. You can click on it to see the records to make sure the filter is correctly set. Optionally, you can click on the plus button by the filter to add one more rule. So only records that match all or any of the rules will be considered for sync. You can create as many auto-folder rules that refer to the same model as you want, but try to make filters self-exclusive, so a document could be definitely assigned. For example, customer but not supplier, supplier but not customer. Otherwise, a specific document folder will be added to the folder rule which sequence is smaller. Such folder rules are higher in the list auto-folders rules. It is also possible to limit documents folder list by relative periods through using date fields of linked documents. For that, click on the tab Periods and add a line. Choose the Objects field, which will be considered to choose the object-related folders for sync. Then choose the next or the last period. Set interval and interval type. tick the box including current to include the current period to calculations. For example, if we set period as last modified on the last 3 years and tick the box including current, and now the year is 2022, then the period from the 1st January of 2020 to the 31st of December 2022 will be considered. You can check the set periods below in the section if today the periods would be. Optional, you can add some more periods. Restrictions of periods are accumulated, so if you added a few lines, it means that all periods conditions should be satisfied. Optionally, you can also introduce expressions to extract folder names for directories. When the folders are created, by default, their title is generated by the nameGet method. For example, the contact Abigail Patterson will have the folder Abigail Patterson added. For different models, this method may work differently. For contacts with a company assigned, the company's name is added before the person's name. For example, the contact Edison Olson will have the folder Deca Edict Edison Olson added, where Deca Edict is the company she is working for. If you want to have another logic for generated names for folders, then you can also use the value of objects fields to generate them with the help of name expressions. You will be able to get the necessary information about an object without opening it. For example, if you create a folder rule contact, their phone numbers can be added to the folder's titles. It is possible to define the rules for folder names so they would include the information of one or several fields. To that end, apply the special syntax, the same that is used in Odoo email templates. So let's type the name using the syntax. Here is an example of it. An expression created should start and finish with the double curly brackets. Everything that is not included in the brackets will be written in the folder's name. For example, add the expressions files of curly brackets object name curly brackets partner. So after refreshing, the contacts folders will look the following way. Files of Abigail Patterson, partner. Comma was written not in the curly brackets, so it was also added to the title. You can also create a complex expression, so with information from several fields or a condition. You can find out about complex expressions and see some examples of name expressions in the Cloud Storage Solutions documentation. The link will be in the description. And optionally, you can create default folder structure, which will be added inside the objects-related folders with the first sync. So default folders are manual folders with or without default attachments that would be auto-generated for a specific Odoo object, as soon as object-related folder is created for the first time. Further folder refreshing will not result in generated default folders with default attachments. For example, if a new contact will be added and its folder will be generated, there you will see also the default folder with the attachments, if any. So let's add some default folders. Click Create. Type a name of a folder, and here you can add some more folders if you want. Optionally add some files. You can also move folders by drag and drop. And if you click on the folder with the right side of the mouse, then you will see the following list of actions. To create a folder inside the folder, edit or delete it. And now our folder rule is ready. We can save it. As you create some folder rules, after the scheduled folders refreshing, the attachment boxes of the related models change. So to open the attachment box, just go to any Odoo Objects forum, find the clip icon and click on it. Here you will see all objects attachments which users can manage. From the Attachments box, you will be able to see the objects folder and its children, if any. Navigate through folders by clicking on their arrow icon to see the subfolders. Click on the folder to select it and see its attachments. Even if you have a long list of folders, you can easily find the one you need with the help of the search bar. Just start typing the folder's title and click on the button Search on the right side of the field. If there is a match, the result will be marked red. To reset the search, click on the button Reset on the right side of the search bar. As you right-click a folder, the list of actions appear. So the list of actions is slightly different for manual and automatic folders. And here are the actions with the automatic folder. And these ones are of the manual folder. You can add files through the Attachments box, message thread, or through the Files Manager. To add a file through the Attachment box, just click Add Attachments and select the file to upload. It is also possible to add a file to another folder from the list if an object has child folders. So for that, just select the folder by clicking on it and click Add Attachments. Another way to upload files to the attachment box is by drag and drop. Just pull the file to the attachments box and drop it when you see the uploading wizard. After uploading, you will see the standard Odoo functional buttons on the attachments cards. The buttons allow performing certain actions with the attachments. Depending on the type of file, the buttons and their placement may be different. For example, if you upload a picture, you will see its thumbnail. Click on the picture to see its preview. Below the preview window, you will see the buttons Print and Download. To delete a picture, click on the cross icon in the top right corner of the thumbnail. As for other extensions, some attachments have the preview, for example PDF, and some don't, for example Doc. So if you upload a document, then the preview will not be available. On the document card, you will find two buttons, Delete and Download. When a file is added to the message thread of an object, it also gets to the attachments box. The files in the message thread have the same functional buttons. You can also open, download, and delete them without opening the attachments box. To add a file through the Files Manager, open the Cloud Storage menu, select the folder by clicking on it, click the button Upload File, and choose the file. After that, you will be able to access the file from both the attachments box of an object and Files Manager, as they are interconnected. Even if the Files Manager is hidden from the user, if he/she has the access to an object, he/she will be able to access the related folder from the attachments box. The other folders from the structure will be seen only in case the user has access to them as well. And now let's also look at the synced files and folders in the attachments box. The automatic folders will be marked by the related Cloud Client icon. The manually created folders will have a ribbon on the folders icon. Synced files would have app-related thumbnails instead of standard small previews to avoid access requests to the Cloud Client for each form opening. For example, you will not be able to see the pictures preview without clicking on the attachment. From the attachments box, you can also open the Cloud folder to see all the synced files and folders related to the object. Just right-click a folder and choose the option Open in Clouds. Simultaneously, you can open a particular file in the clouds. For that, the cloud icon Open in Cloud is introduced. Click on it and in a new tab you will be redirected to the related folder. Even after the sync, a user might download attachments locally by clicking on the download icon on the file. The downloading of the synced files from Odoo doesn't require logging into the Cloud Client. Odoo Standard Preview would equally work for standard Odoo attachments and synced attachments. Files which do not have the preview function on Odoo will be opened in the Cloud client. For example, doc. If you click on the Remove button, then after submitting your decision in a pop-up window, the link will be removed from Odoo, and after the next sync, the file will be removed from the cloud storage as well. And now let's configure Google Drive account. For that, find the link consoledevelopersgoogle.com in documentation or on one of the websites, faOtools or Odoo, in the tab Guidelines, Configuration and Login. Here it is. Here, click on the button Create Project, start typing the name, and optionally choose the organization. From the project dashboard, go to APIs, Overview and Services, and click Enable APIs and Services. Find Google Drive here, and push the button Enable. Then go to the Credentials and click Configure Consent Screen. As the user type, choose External and click Create. Add apps information, for example, Odoo 15, and add your email. In the field Developer Contact Information, add your email address again and click Save and Continue. On the Scopes page, just click Save and Continue. As a test users, add your Gmail address by clicking on the button Add Users. Click Add. And then Save and Continue. Then go to Credentials and push the button Create Credentials. Here choose the second option, Auth Client ID. Choose the application type as Web Application, and as the authorized redirect URL, add the link. You will find this link in Odoo. Let's go there. Cloud Storage, Configuration, Cloud Clients. Click Create and choose the Cloud Client as Google Drive. You can write any reference here. And here is our link, redirect URL. This link is generated automatically as you create a cloud client, but make sure that your site is written correctly. Copy it and add to the section Authorized to Direct URLs. Click Create. Then copy the client ID and add it to the field App Client ID. Then copy client secret and paste it to the field App Client Secret. If you use Team drives, check the related box. Make sure you really use Team drives. In your Google Drive, you should find the item Team drives in the left sidebar. This feature is available only for business and enterprise tariffs. If the option Team drive is enabled, introduce its name. It should be absolutely the same as you see it in your Google Drive. Make sure that your user has full rights to all Team drives. We don't have a Team drive, so let's untick it and click Save. And now you can confirm the account. You will be redirected to the Google login page. Check in, click Continue, and agree with all the conditions. Click Continue. After successful login, Google redirects you back to Odoo. So, Google Drive Odoo synchronization is ready to be done. Let's also configure OneDrive SharePoint. Before the configuration, make sure your Microsoft user has full admin rights for OneDrive, SharePoint you want to connect to Odoo. The tool depends on external libraries, Microsoft Graph. Install this library for your Odoo server through the command pip3 install Microsoft Graph Python. Make sure that you are installing the package for the correct Python, so for the same one on which Odoo is run. Usually that assumes running the command under sudo. Contact your system administrator if after installation Odoo cannot anyway detect the library. So, after the installation of the OneDrive SharePoint add-on, it is required to finish the setup. For that, open the article Cloud Configuration and Login, for example in Cloud Storage Solutions documentation, or on one of the websites. On the website faOtools, you can go to Guidelines and Setting OneDrive SharePoint. Or in Odoo, again you can go to Guidelines and Setting up OneDrive SharePoint. Here we are on the portal. Here click New Registration and introduce a new name for the application. Then, as the supported account types, choose accounts in any organization directory, any Azure directory, multi-tenant, and personal Microsoft accounts. Then assign the redirect URL. You can find this URL in your database. For that, let's open the database. For that, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, Cloud Clients, and click Create. Here introduce a new name and select the Cloud Client. Here is our redirect URL. Copy it. This link is generated automatically as you create a cloud client, but make sure that your site is written correctly. In the field, select a platform, choose Web, and here paste our URL address. And click Register. Here find Application Client ID line and copy it. Go back to Odoo and paste this value into App Client ID. Go to Certificates and Secrets and click New Client Secret. Enter a description and click Add. Here is the value of our secret. Let's copy it and return to Odoo to paste it. Now you can save it. Click Confirm and you will be redirected to Microsoft login page. Check in and agree with all conditions and grant permissions asked. After the successful setup, you will be redirected back to the module settings. And you can continue. And now you can choose the folders that will be sent to OneDrive. If you have a SharePoint account, then you also need to go to a SharePoint site and prepare a new documents library. You might use one of the existing ones, for example, documents, and a Odoo folder would be put there. And afterwards, it will be impossible to move it to another library. Here you also need to fill SharePoint URL and SharePoint site. The examples of the way how it should look you will see here. They are written in gray. Dropbox depends on an external library's Dropbox. Install this library for your Odoo server through the command pip3 install Dropbox. Make sure that you're installing the package for the correct Python, so for the same one on which Odoo is run. Usually that assumes running the command under sudo. Contact your system administrator if after installation Odoo cannot anyway detect the library. And now it's the high time to configure Dropbox. For that, find the link, for example, in the documentation, Cloud Storage Solutions, in the article Dropbox implementation. Here it is, or on one of the pages, faOtools, Dropbox Odoo Integration or Cloud Storage Solutions in the tab Guidelines, Configuration and Login, or in Odoo in Guidelines, Configuration and Login. Here's the link. Here, what you will see. Firstly, you need to choose an API as scoped access. Choose the type of access as full Dropbox. Then name your app and click Create App. Here you need to find the line redirect URLs, and now let's find this link in Odoo. For that, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, Cloud Clients, and click Create. Start writing the reference and choose the Cloud Client as Dropbox. And here is our link. This link is generated automatically as you create a cloud client, but make sure that your site is written correctly. Copy it and paste here. Click Add. Then go to the tab Permissions and make sure you have the following permissions granted. Account info read, files metadata write and read, files content write and read, and collaboration, sharing, write and read. For Team Dropbox, you need to also assign team data members. Here it is. And members read. We don't have Dropbox teams, so we don't need to grant those permissions. Now click Submit. Now let's return back to the tab Settings. Find app key, copy it, and add it to the corresponding field in Odoo. Then copy app secret and add it to Odoo. Here also, if you have Dropbox Teams, you need to check the Dropbox Teams box. Dropbox has a specific way to generate links for existing files and folders. In particular, there are no concepts of internal or private URLs. Instead, each Dropbox item might get a so-called share URL. Such shared links are either public or team-only. So sometimes it's considered to be not fully safe. Although website URL will be hardly known by external users, there's still a slight chance that they become available. That's why the feature to switch off sharing URLs is introduced. If checked, all Dropbox URLs will not work in many cases. For example, you will not be able to use the button Open in Cloud. Also, you will not be able to open such formats as Excel Access, which cannot be opened through the standard Odoo reviewers. For that, authorization will be required. Thus, if you need to open Dropbox files, folders from Odoo, do not turn on the feature No links to Dropbox from Odoo. And now we can save. Then click Confirm. After that, you will be redirected to the Dropbox login page. Check in and agree with all the conditions and grant permissions asked. And we are redirected back to Odoo. Dropbox is configured. So let's configure OwnCloud Nextcloud. The tool depends on external libraries, ownCloud. Install this library for your Odoo server through the command pip3 install by a client. Make sure that you are installing the package for the correct Python, so for the same one on which Odoo is run. Usually that assumes running the command under sudo. Contact your system administrator if after installation Odoo cannot anyway detect the library. After the installation of the module in your database, it's required to finish the setup by doing the following. Go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, Cloud Clients. Click Create, choose ownCloud or Nextcloud from the list, write the reference, Optionally type the root folder name, otherwise the default Odoo will be used. Then enter your ownCloud Nextcloud URL. The example is written here in gray. Then enter the login and the password of your user. So let's copy it. And type the password. By default, all links from Odoo to ownCloud Nextcloud are internal. It means that only authorized users may access them and, after that, generate shared URLs for others. It's possible to make them public using the option Use Public URLs. In that case, links will become shared, meaning that everybody may access those files by links. Although the links would be hardly known by external users, there is a slight chance that they become available as a result of some actions. Also, sharing links generation is not fast and might take the synchronization slower. Thus, be cautious if you decide to run on the feature and use shared links. I'm not going to tick the box, so let's click Save. And then Confirm. And here we see the confirmation. Our client is ready to be used. And now let's discuss the synchronization outcomes, the actions that we do in Odoo and in Cloud Client and their consequences. So as soon as folders appear, the same ones are created in the Cloud Client with one of the next sync. Of course, if the Cloud Client was assigned to this folder rule. All folders are created inside the root folder Odoo, and folder rules folders serve as storage for object-related folders. So each Odoo folder will have its own cloud folder. For example, Odoo, Customers, Azure Interior, and their files and folders related to the object. The result of your actions will be different depending on the place where the changes are introduced in Odoo or in client. So let's look at the actions applied from Odoo and their consequences. The first one is creating a folder to sync. So if you create a folder rule or a folder in Odoo and set a cloud client to it, then it will be synced. For example, we have created a folder rule Customers, and the related folders were generated in the Files Manager, as we have assigned the cloud client Google Drive to the folder rule. Those folders were synced to the cloud. If you move a folder, for example, by changing its parent folder, then it will be moved in the Cloud Client as well. For example, we have a folder rule Quotations with a parent rule Customers. If we clear the field parent rule, the folder rule will no longer be a child one to Customers. Thus, the hierarchy will change and the folder Quotations will change its place in both Files Manager and Cloud Client. Then we can also change the Cloud Client of a folder or folder rule. So if you change the Cloud Client and the folder rule settings, then with one of the next sync, the files will be returned to Odoo and then moved to the other Cloud Client with the help of direct sync. For example, we have 3 Cloud Clients in our system: Google Drive, OneDrive, and Dropbox. So let's change the Cloud Client of projects, for example, from Dropbox to Google Drive. And then it was returned to Odoo and then sent to Google Drive. Let's also change a linked to the synced folder object's name. So you can rename an object in Odoo and the changes will be applied in the Cloud Client as well. For example, we have a client, Deco Edit, which after rebranding changed its name to Deco Furniture. So with the next sync, the name has changed in the Cloud Client too. Also, let's change the filters of a folder rule. In this case, the folders will be recalculated, and if there are some new matching objects, their folders will be created. And if some objects don't match the filters anymore, then the object-related folders will be returned to Odoo by the reversed sync with the next scheduled job. For example, we have the folder rule internal projects with tags name contains internal. And let's switch it to tags name is set and save. After that, one more project should be synced. And also you can archive a folder in Odoo. The reverse sync will take place, which will return files back to Odoo. There may be various reasons that led to archiving the folder. The folder is archived if you delete an object, archive a manual folder, change filters so the object no more matches them. If you delete an object in Odoo, it will also be removed from the cloud client. For example, the company of our client Azure Interior was closed, so we have archived the contacts card, and the folder was removed from the cloud client with the next reversed sync. Please avoid triggering the reversed sync, as it assumes the most complex operations. Make sure you really need it. And now let's look at the actions applied from a cloud. Here you can create a folder, and if you create a folder in the cloud client, then with the next sync it will be added as a subfolder in Odoo. For example, let's add a folder Terms of Agreement to the project's renovation folder in the cloud client. With the next sync, it's applied to the related place in Odoo. In general, the folder changes in Odoo are prioritized over the folder changes in Cloud Client. So it's better to avoid renaming, moving, and deleting folders in the Cloud Client. They should be managed in Odoo. Now let's also look at the changes in attachments in Odoo and Cloud Client. After the sync, the attachments of each folder and hence related Odoo object will be moved to the related folder in the Cloud Client. Only links to the files will be kept in Odoo. So, as with folders, certain actions have different results depending on the place where the changes are introduced. Let's see some common actions performed to the files and their consequences. So the first is uploading files to Odoo. If you upload files to Odoo, then those files will be transferred to the cloud client. Only links to them will remain in Odoo. You still will be able to access the file quickly just by clicking on it in Odoo. In case you upload the files to the cloud client directly, the app will create URL attachments for those items in a linked Odoo folder. In Cloud Clients folders, you can put not only files, but child folders as well. In that case, with the next sync, the folder will be created in Odoo, and it will be seen from Objects Attachment box and in the file storage as well. The folder will be manual. Keep in mind that a new object, for example, sale order, will not be created from creating a folder in Cloud Client. Let's also look at renaming the file. If you rename a file in the Cloud Client, then the chained Odoo attachment will be also renamed. If you move a file from the Cloud Client from one object to another, a linked Odoo attachment will be also moved. You can move an attachment to another folder in Odoo with the help of mass action update. For that, just select the file, click Update, and choose the folder to move the files to. If you delete a URL attachment from Odoo, it will also be deleted from the Cloud Client. And if you delete a file from the Cloud Client, a linked Odoo attachment would be also deleted. But keep in mind that in some Cloud Clients, to delete a file fully, you need to clean the bin as well. Regardless of the place, you can always download any attachment. To download the attachment from Odoo, just click on the download icon and the downloading will start automatically. To download a file from the client, click on the file and choose the appropriate command. In general, the changes in attachments in Cloud Client are prioritized over the changes in attachments in Odoo. Let's also talk about the ways to sync Odoo Enterprise Documents. For that, the add-on Cloud Sync for Enterprise Documents is required. It introduces the possibility to generate folders for workspaces. To force Odoo to prepare workspace-related directories, define folder rules of the type workspace-related rule. The tool would automatically create linked folders and sync those for chosen cloud storage with one of the next scheduled jobs. The folder rule of the workspace type are marked in the Folder Rules menu with a blue color. Let's set a workspace-related automatic folder rule. For that, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, Folder Rules. Click Create, choose the rule type as Workspace-related rule, choose a folder name. If there is more than one cloud client connected, for example, Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, then choose the one to which you want to sync the files or leave the field empty if you don't want to sync the folder. Optionally, you can limit the objects to sync by applying filters, for example, to sync only particular workspaces. For that, you can click Add a filter, then find the line ID and choose the ID of the workspace that you want to sync. Here you can also add a complex rule. For example, you can sync 2, 3, and more workspaces by choosing their IDs. Keep in mind that the workspace will be synced with all its children. You can't sync a parent workspace and not sync its children. Let's delete these filters for a while to sync all workspaces, then click Save. Keep in mind that after creating a workspace-related rule, the Documents interface and the Files Manager become interconnected, so all changes in one will be reflected in the other. If a workspace-related rule has also a cloud client connected, then the changes in the Documents interface and Files Manager interface will be also reflected in Cloud Manager. So all three are interconnected. Certain actions with workspaces and documents may have a different result depending on the place where the changes are introduced, in Odoo or in a client. So let's look at the most popular ones. First one is adding a new workspace with the cloud client assigned. So if you add a new workspace and assign a cloud client to it, then a related folder will be created in the cloud client with the next sync. If you rename a synced workspace, then the related folder in the cloud client will be also renamed with the next sync. If you move a synced workspace, for example, by changing the parent one, then the structure in the cloud client also changes accordingly with the next sync. If you delete a synced workspace in Odoo, then with the next sync it will be deleted from the cloud as well. If you create a folder in the cloud client, then it's also added to Odoo as both a workspace folder and as a folder in Files Manager. And let's look at the consequences performed with documents in cloud. If you upload the document to one of the synced folders in the cloud client, then with the next sync, the document will be uploaded to the related folder in Odoo as well. If you rename one of the synced documents in the cloud, then with the next sync, it will be renamed in Odoo as well. If you move a synced document to another workspace in the cloud client, then with the next sync, it will be moved in Odoo accordingly. And if you delete a synced document from the cloud client, then with the next sync, it will be deleted from Odoo as well. And let's also discuss the actions with documents in Odoo. If you upload a document to one of the synced workspaces, then with the next sync it will also be added to the related folder in the cloud. If you change the name of a synced document in Odoo, its name in the cloud client will also change with the next sync. If you move a document to another workspace in Odoo, with the next sync, it will be moved in the cloud accordingly. If you delete a previously synced document from Odoo, then with the next sync it will be deleted from the cloud as well. Now let's look deeper at the synchronization process. In general, synchronization is a fully automatic process based on scheduled jobs. The connector works on a queue first in, first out principle. The synchronization doesn't take place in real time to avoid performance conflicts and functionality issues. If the Odoo was unable to finish a task, for example to send a file or folder, then after some time, which is increased exponentially when the error repeats, it will return to it. The module will make up to 8 attempts. If even after this time the task will be completed with an error, then it will not be performed anymore, to avoid the high consumption of the platform resources. If there are some active tasks, then the application firstly does them and only after that scans the folders. The application searches for the oldest folder, if any. The queue, tasks creation, and control of operations fulfillment can be tracked in real time through the module sync logs. We will talk about it later. Synchronization is done in both ways, directly from Odoo to the cloud client and backwards. Both types of sync work in one single process. There is another type of synchronization, reverse sync, which was introduced to make it possible to change a cloud client or switch between them, or to reset the sync. It helps to return previously synced files back to Odoo and delete them from the cloud. Also, it helps to move files from one cloud client to another. The types of files for direct sync can be limited. For example, you can set not to sync PNG, pictures, or PDF files. For that, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration. Find the field Non-Synced MIME Types and enter comma-separated MIME types without spaces. That should not be synced. For example, like this. So we forbid to sync PDF and PNG types. If you choose not to sync a particular type of file and then add it to the cloud client, then with the next sync the file will be also added to Odoo, as the limitation doesn't affect backward sync. Take into account that the following MIME types would not be synced disregarding this setting. Here they are. Moreover, the attachments of zero size and attachments which start with slash also would not be taken into account. Make sure that you use the right name of the extension. Odoo recognizes application in its own way with an intuitive extension. For example, PDF is recognized as application PDF. To check the extension of uploaded attachments, turn on the development mode, open the technical menu Attachments, click on any attachment and check the extension of the file in the line MIME type. For extra convenience, the special sync logs interface was introduced. It allows you to control planned jobs and their fulfillment. With the help of the information from the sync logs, you will be able to see the sync history, know whether the sync took place and what has changed, check whether a particular file was synchronized, investigate the sync problems. The sync history contains all the necessary information about all the actions of the module. For example, what folders were created, what files were imported or exported, and by what cloud. The time of the action is also tracked, so you may see when the action took place. The time of sync logs corresponds to the time of the Odoo server. Thus, it may differ from the local time of the user. To open the sync logs interface, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, Sync Logs. There you will be able to see the list of changes which take place while syncing. You can also see it in real time as the objects and files are managed. One of the most important functions of the sync logs is to point out the problem in sync. If there is a problem, a mistake and its details will appear in the sync logs. From here, you may find out what actions to take, or you may export the logs in order to send the customer support email for further investigation of an issue. Depending on the result of the sync operation may be either green if it was successful, orange for warning if there was a serious error, or red if there was an error. The button Export was introduced to share sync logs in case an error appears. This way you will be able to send the logs to a responsible person who will be able to fix the problems in time. If you have more than one cloud client, then you will be able to switch between their logs. When there are lots of files synchronizing every day, it might be rather difficult to find the information you need through sync logs. Therefore, there are several ways to conveniently search through the sync records. The ways to search sync logs: by matches in logs or cloud clients' names. For that, just start writing your request in the search bar in the top right corner and choose the option. By applying filters. For that, click Filters and choose the existing one or add your own. By default, you can filter to see only critical, error, warning, info, and debug. And by creating and applying own filters. For that, click Filters, add Custom Filter, and introduce one or several conditions. For example, this way you can search logs by date and time. If you click on the Export button after selecting a cloud client or applying the particular filters, then only matching sync logs will be exported. To define how many days sync logs should be kept in Odoo, go to Cloud Storage, Configuration, and specify the number of days in the field Log Storage Period Days. The number should not be less than 3 days. Then click Save. You can also subscribe for a particular cloud client's notifications, so if there is a critical connection error, you will receive an email and will be able to fix the problem in time. For that, go to Configuration, Cloud Clients, and open one of them. Click Subscribe in the bottom right corner. Sync logs do not assume replacing Odoo server logs. It's a complementary function which allows controlling sync from the configuration interface. You may need Odoo server logs as well to investigate the routes of detected in sync logs warnings. As you configure a cloud client, the button Reconnect Pause appears in the top left corner. It's useful when a cloud client wasn't used for a while and you need to reconnect and give all the permissions again. When the sync has stopped or a token has expired, when granting extra permissions is required for migration purposes, and when you simply want to stop the sync. To reconnect the cloud client, press the button Reconnect and then log in and confirm. Then you need to follow the instructions related to the target cloud client. For example, in this case, we need to grant permissions again. And now let's talk about the reverse sync. It takes place when a folder isn't anymore synced, when you want to change the cloud client of previously synced files and folders, or when the sync is fully stopped, so cloud is reset. It assumes getting all items back to Odoo, delete the files from the cloud client, and optionally send them to another one. The reversed sync is triggered by the same scheduled job as the direct and the backward sync. So by the scheduled job run prepare sync queue. It can be also triggered manually by clicking on the button Launch Sync. Reverse sync operations are usually prioritized to direct and backward sync operations. Thus, in most cases, the planner will work with the tasks related to reverse sync until they are fulfilled, and only after that will continue completing the other tasks. Not all items can be correctly reversed to Odoo due to the cloud client's peculiarities. For example, there are documents that may exist only in cloud storage environments, for example, Google Sheet. The app would try to convert such documents, but in some cases it would require manual interactions. Try to avoid using the reverse sync. Make sure you really need it. The folder CRM used to be synced to the Nextcloud, but then we have reset the cloud. Thus, all the folders and files returned back to Odoo. The module introduces two new user groups which can see and manage the menu cloud storage: File Manager Access and Administration. To observe the menu cloud storage and the App Files Manager, a user should belong to the security group Cloud Storage Files Manager Access. To configure automatic folder rules, establish connections with various cloud clients, control sync logs, and apply the app settings, a user should belong to the security group Cloud Storage Administration. To assign one of the roles to a user, go to Settings, click Manage Users. Choose a particular user and click Edit. Scroll down to the section Other, and in the field Cloud Storage, choose one of the options. Click Save. A user without the cloud storage rights assigned can't open the File Manager interface, but can see folders with files in the Attachments box. This way, he/she will have the access to the object's files, including the synced ones, if he/she has the access to the object itself. To access any folder in Files Manager, a user should be able to access all its parents. Access for each Odoo automatic folder is regulated based on a linked object. If such an Odoo object is available for a specific user, its directory would be also available for him or her. If Anita Oliver has the access to the project renovations, then she can also access its tasks. Access for Odoo manual folders is regulated based on the parent-child relationship. If you have the access to a parent folder, then you also have the access to its children. Restricting the access to a particular manual folder is an additional way to limit access rights to make a folder even more secured. Define the users or user groups in the manual folder settings so no one else could access it. If nobody is specified, then a manually created folder is available for everyone. To manage access to a manually created folder, click on any manually created folder with the right side of the mouse. Then choose the option Edit Settings, go to the tab Extra Security, specify the users and groups who can see the folder, and click Save. Keep in mind that the creator of the folder should be also added to the list to access the folder. The app does not regulate access levels for cloud clients and their items. The tool regulates rights only for Odoo objects and synchronizes those to required storage. After the sync, it's necessary you should apply the settings for target cloud client folders and files. I hope this video will be useful for you. Feel free to contact us to try the module in the demo instance. See you in the next videos.